You ready? Okay, welcome to the Board of Park Commissioner meeting for Tuesday, April 4th. Please call the roll.
Mr. Capper?
Here.
Mr. Emmer? Mrs. Westphal?
Here.
Okay, we have our minutes of our March 1st Board of Park Commissioners meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions of those minutes?
None?
Hearing none, I'll entertain the motion to approve those minutes then.
Motion to approve.
And I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They stand approved. Reports. Mr. Drake, we were talking a little bit before this meeting about the tornado.
Yes.
Anything to add to that?
No, just that the guys are doing a really good job. We probably have one more day of cleanup. We've already got goals back in place and ready for games that are tomorrow night and Thursday night at Duke soccer games. Overall, we were fairly lucky. We did lose some trees, but considering what could have been, all in all, we're lucky with the amount of damage we did receive.
Our building facilities weren't damaged?
Yeah, surprisingly, all the roofs on the barns are okay, all the dugouts, all the metal roofs on shelters and all of
Thank God
that
for metal roofs.
sustained really well,
Yeah.
So, overall, Timba actually took the hardest hit probably of all. We've got some guys out there right now riding the trails. We're probably looking at some pretty lengthy closures of portions of Timba.
Because of downed
mountain bike
trees?
trail, because of downed trees, yeah. So, but outside of that, as far as actual damage to assets and structures, very minimal for what could have been.
Good. Good. Anything else you want to add in your section of the report?
I would just add that we are working right now to fill our current labor position opening. We've started interviews. We've got one more this week, and then we'll be looking at calling several back for second interviews. So working on that. Our arborist position is currently open to the outside. That was posted internally, and no one put in for it. So we'll be looking to hopefully fairly soon close that posting and start interviewing for that position as well.
Good.
So,
Is that something that if they didn't have the training that they
we
could
are
work
looking
on that?
for somebody that's already a practicing arborist, but
Okay.
we are giving them a year to, if they didn't have their ODA pesticide license, we're giving them a year to get that, as
Okay.
well as a year to obtain their ISA certified arborist credential. But there are a lot of arborists practicing that aren't necessarily certified, so we have left it that as an option, that
Okay.
they've got a year if they don't have those credentials.
Good.
Okay.
Any other questions of Mr. Drake?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Boer, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Do you have anything to add to your report?
Just that things are obviously ramping up for us. That we've got April is kind of the start of the season, I guess. Masters Week in particular always feels like the start of the season for golf around here. And obviously the weather has broken this week, so obviously things are ramping up quite a bit. We're starting to get towards getting close to a regular mowing schedule, getting all of our part-time staffing wrapped up, and obviously league play and things like that will commence. A lot of those will start next week, and so, yeah.
Good. Okay. Any questions of Mr. Boer?
Were you able to get the help you needed for the kitchen?
Yes, yeah. So far, we've been able to fill all the shifts that we've needed, and so we've got one or two more folks to get hired on this week and get trained, obviously. But we're good to go staffing wise.
Good. Okay, next is the Planning Commission report. I don't have anything to report from Planning Commission affecting the Park Board. So new business. Recommendation to council regarding Prouty Plaza ground lease. Mr. Titterington, did you want to begin that conversation?
I can begin that conversation, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. You had some questions about the proposed lease. This is part of the redevelopment project at the Mayflower. That project we hope to include renovation of the southeast corner of the building to include public restrooms. As part of a master lease, we would make an upfront lease payment that would be good for a period of, I believe, either 30 years or 50 years. I don't have it in front of me. It's quite a long time, 50 years. And as part of, we had talked at one point about providing an easement in the front of the mural wall on Prati Plaza, and in looking at the rest of how we structured this, the attorneys involved, Mr. Folker behind me, as well as the law director, decided that the cleanest, the smoothest way to do it would be to incorporate it as part of the overall lease, which is why you see the document that you have.
So we're getting rid of and going away from the easements?
We would not do the easement, well, in this case, I wouldn't say that's a blanket policy,
No,
but
just
just
in
in this one, yes, that's the way it would work.
And Mr. Folker represents who?
Mr.
The
Martin?
building owner, Busted Recently in West Martin.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
And so you had a question about the proposed amount. We would make an upfront payment. It's actually $140,000, and then we'd hold $10,000 back to make sure that the restrooms were done the way we wanted them to be. This is just part of that whole package, but it's also a way of, and it's part of our recommendation that we'd be able to provide them the outdoor patio space similar to what we do with Herons and Caroline, Agave and Rye, Bakehouse Bread, anybody that really uses the public right-of-way, if you will. But in this case, the way their plans and their redevelopment would occur, that public space would actually be onto Prati Plaza.
One of the questions I had on that issue is, we're paying them $140,000 to finish the restrooms, to put in the restrooms, as I understand it.
Yes.
Is this only the public restrooms, or are these restrooms also used by the building owner and tenant?
These are strictly public restrooms.
So no access from inside the building?
Correct.
Thank you.
Do we get a picture of what that's going to look like?
Well, we think,
I mean-
we didn't get this before today.
Yeah.
We just got the, and I understand, Mr. Folker, you said there's other tweaks that are going to be happening to this lease, is that right?
Well, I guess I love and may I?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'm looking at your email, I think to Grant Kerber of April 3rd, where you had 9 comments concerning the lease agreement.
Right.
And let me just start with number 9. I prepared the initial lease agreement, and then Grant Kerber and I bounced it back and forth several times, and they each made red line revisions to the document. And Mr. Titterington and Tim Davis and my client were all included on all those emails back and forth. So concerning who prepared the document, that was kind of a group effort between me and my client and Grant Kerber and the city. So let's see, with number 8, we certainly have no problem with a memorandum of lease, and I agree that would be appropriate. Number 7, no, I don't believe that the park board has transferred the real estate to the CIC, but I think that's part of this ongoing process.
Let's discuss that just a minute, if you don't mind. Mr. Titterington, what's the plan here? I mean,
Sure.
if somebody,
So,
our commissioner's house, is
there are
CIC going to be a party?
Well, there are multiple parts to this. So the overall lease would be something that the city council would approve based on your recommendation for the piece that's on the Prati Plaza side, but then also incorporates the overall lease with the condition that they would charge the CIC with being the ultimate leaseholder as our economic development tool to be able to make the payment and oversee the actual construction on our behalf.
So how is the interest in the real estate going from the Board of Park Commissioners over to CIC to enable them to go ahead and lease it to Mr. Folker's client?
We can talk to Mr. Kerber. Maybe it's a 3-part agreement and you sign for the part that's Prati Plaza, with the remainder being on the private property and being the lease between the CIC and the Mayflower,
I just think
or
there has to
Busted
be-
Brick.
Mr. Folker, don't you agree there has to be some tie-in there between the owner of the property to make the lease even valid?
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is, when Grant and I first started talking about this, I was asking for an easement in favor of my client for this 10-foot strip along the east wall of Mayflower, and then leasing the restrooms back to the city. Grant felt like that if we're going to do this, there's a difference, obviously a difference between an easement and a lease agreement. Grant felt it would be better to structure this as a lease agreement, so that everybody's kind of on equal legal footing. So that's why we proceeded with the preparation of kind of a reciprocal lease agreement, as opposed to an easement in favor of my client and then a lease back to the city. So that's how we got to this point.
And just to clarify something, Mrs. Knight reminded me that, as you're well aware, some of the properties are titled to the park board, some are to the city. This is one of those properties that's titled to the city. So in this case, we would be looking for a recommendation from the park board, like we do in every case, regardless of the title. But since the title's already in the city, that will clean it up, and it can be a two-part lease between Busted Brick and the city.
Well, to the contrary, I mean, I don't care who owns it, that person who owns the property is still going to have to be entwined within this agreement somehow. I mean, if the city's a party to it, then...
then they would be, definitely. They would be the ones signing the lease, but they would probably assign it to the CIC on our behalf.
Perfect.
Okay.
I mean, if the agreement is between the city and Busted Brick, that makes a lot of sense, and then assigning it to the CIC, that's fine. But to have an agreement without the owner of the property being a party is difficult to handle.
Well, and maybe I misunderstood. I thought the city was going to transfer the property to the CIC, which is why the agreement was prepared, between the building owner and the CIC.
Okay. Well, we've got some things we've got to work out.
That's probably a minor thing. I don't know that I was privy to that part of it, and maybe it wasn't clear on either side, but yeah, we wouldn't obviously transfer Prouty Plaza to Busted Brick. As an easement, it would have been a lot cleaner because we would have had it carved out. But we can clean that up. That's not an issue. The intent, though, is, and the final document will reflect, that the city would provide, as part of the easement, the use of that based on your recommendation. And we could specifically describe, we will specifically describe, because I think we already have a survey done of that area, what exactly is entailed in that lease, in that outdoor space lease.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, okay. So, and again, working bottom to top on your email, paragraph 6 indicate that exhibits B, C, and D need to be attached. The copies I've provided you just prior to the beginning of this meeting do have those exhibits attached. Exhibit B is the owner's architect's estimate of construction costs to complete the premises, and the leased premises are the two restrooms to be constructed. Exhibit C then is the architect's drawing of that side of the building. And so if you look on what would be the bottom of the page, right-hand side, that would be the southeast corner of the Mayflower building. And on this drawing, it's depicted as a 10-foot easement, but as discussions progressed, that developed and became a 10-foot lease as opposed to an easement. But if you look, you'll see a ramp going up to the two restrooms to be constructed. And then if you keep going up to the very top of the page, you'll see a doorway there at the top of the page. That is what will be the entrance to the facility from Prouty Plaza. And immediately to the north of that, there's an existing wall. The owner does not intend to have any outdoor seating area immediately. And in the future, any outdoor seating area would be north of that entrance to the wall. So the outdoor seating, that's incorporated into this lease agreement just because he wants to keep that option open in the future. That's not an immediate plan. And if he ever does decide to proceed with the outdoor seating, it would be to the north of that entrance, which I think you can see that's not going to be anywhere close to the restroom entrances.
Okay.
And we can certainly incorporate a provision in the lease agreement to the effect that, outdoor seating will not be within X number of feet from the restroom entrances.
Perfect. Yeah, and that's different than what was presented to us before when this was supposed to be an easement.
Right.
Because it was shown to us with tables and chairs and umbrella stands and
Mhm.
things like that, and so I like that a lot better.
Yeah.
The use
Yeah.
of Proudy Plaza.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see.
I didn't know we...
So I think that probably addresses, number 5 of your comments.
I thought
Uh,
the trucks coming in and out.
Number 4 of the comments, we can certainly amend that paragraph of the lease agreement to provide that the lessor, whether that's the city or the CIC, we can amend that to provide that the lessor shall be responsible for maintenance of the mural, but the building owner will be responsible for maintenance of the wall itself. So I don't see that as a problem at all. Let's see, your paragraph number 3 requires the lessee, in this case, the lessee of the 2 restrooms to maintain the premises. And I guess, yeah, that would require the lessee to repair fixtures, replace light bulbs, et cetera. Warranty work, I think that would be the lessor's responsibility. But we can certainly refine or revise that paragraph so that the lessee's maintenance obligation is restricted to the interior of the leased premises.
And the leased premises are just the outside restrooms?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's where I kind of need clarification, because I was under the impression that there were going to be doors also going to the inside of the unit from those bathrooms, but apparently there is not.
So,
Yeah, I'm sorry. At the very end of the very first paragraph of the lease agreement, it describes the 2 public restrooms and then indicates that those 2 rooms are hereafter referred to as the premises. So the 2 public restrooms are the entire premises of the lease agreement.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, once again, I was just concerned that there was no doorways to the inside of the tent.
No, there are none.
Yeah, that explains a lot to me.
And then, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was going to clarify that, between that and you mentioned when you saw an early rendition where it looked like it was going to be an easement on the outside,
Mhm.
a lot has changed. I believe that the tenant had not been confirmed at that point, and I believe that the owner had intended on doing the redevelopment and the lease out to himself. And so since that point, a final tenant has come in, they've got a different idea. They're going to focus on the roof area first as their outdoor seating, and then perhaps develop the patio in the future. We always felt like the restrooms were going to be all walled off from the public, but that was only finalized when this new tenant came in and we had some final drawings.
Well, thank you.
No, okay, so I'm about done with your email, Mr. Chair. Paragraph 2 says on page 3, paragraph E, CIC will maintain heat in the bathrooms. On my, what I think is the final version of the lease agreement, that language does not appear in Roman numeral, on page 3 under paragraph E. That language does not appear. And as I had indicated, the lease agreement was bounced back between the 2 attorneys' offices several times in a red line version, and that probably appeared in a previous version, but does not appear in the version I presented to you earlier.
Okay, is the premises, the 2 bathrooms for the public restrooms, are they going to be separately metered then?
No.
So
No.
the utilities are going to be paid by the owner of the building or the
Mhm.
tenant? Whoever it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
All right. And so nothing in here says that the lessee, the CIC, City of Troy, whoever it's gonna be, has to maintain heat?
I don't find that, your reference was to page 3, paragraph E.
Yeah, I see that, and it's not there anymore.
And it's not there, and I think that probably got deleted in a prior redline version.
Okay. I hate wasting my time on versions that aren't being considered. Okay, I'll take a look at that at the next draft then. Thank you.
So I don't know if there are any other questions that I can answer. The building owner is Busted Brick Realty Group. The primary tenant will be A.M. Scott Distillery. Will occupy the entire building except for the 2 public restrooms to be occupied or leased to either the city or CIC or however that turns out.
Okay. Susan, you have any questions?
I don't think so.
What's timing on this? When will we get the final draft? All these issues gonna be worked
Well,
out?
last I heard, Grant had sent me, he had made a couple revisions on February 27. At that point, I thought I was done. I think at that point, the city thought that the city was done. So I guess we just need to make, any revisions requested by the Park District or CIC. I guess maybe we need to understand, so the city owns the plaza, correct? Okay. But the plaza falls within the jurisdiction of the Park District?
The ordinance requires the Board of Park Commissioners to manage and maintain public properties and parks, and that's what this is.
Okay. Well, I guess I need to talk with Grant Kerber and find out. I was under the impression that Prouty Plaza was to be transferred by deed to the CIC, and then the CIC would become the party to this kind of reciprocal lease agreement.
I think that's incorrect.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about here has got to be worked out before we can make any recommendation.
Okay. Well, do I understand then that the party to the lease agreement will be the city rather than the CIC?
Good question. I think we need to have Grant involved.
I think that would be,
Yeah.
need clarified. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, in terms of making revisions, I don't know what to tell you until we know who the parties to the lease agreement are.
I just need to know
But I
whether or not
think
to
we can-
schedule a special meeting or it's gonna wait for next month.
Well, the building owner would like for all this to happen as soon as possible because he's trying to put it all out for bid and get construction estimates back, and he's kind of not able to do that entirely until the lease agreement's in place.
Well, he can put things out for bid without having this finalized.
Mhm.
I can understand his trepidation.
Yeah.
We meet in another month, is what I'm saying.
Mhm.
And if we need to have a special meeting, I think Susan and I, and hopefully Jordan, would be available
Okay.
to review this.
Okay.
But I feel very reluctant on doing anything until such time as we have a final document.
Oh, sure. Yeah, okay. Well, I guess I will talk with Grant about who the parties to the lease agreement are. Grant and I can make all the revisions that you've suggested in your comments, and we can probably turn that around pretty quick once we know. If it's gonna be the city, we just need to know that, because that's...
Sure. Hopefully Grant will have the answer.
Okay.
And how much time do we need to give the media? 24 hours notice? Okay. Is there any day that the week that you're
I
bad
will
out?
not be here from Friday until the 17th, so
17th?
I'll be gone next week,
Okay, well,
basically. So,
Yeah. We-
but if Jordan's here.
Or do you have any questions or problems with it?
No, but I'm sure this all went through the planning commission and all
It
that.
did not.
I
Doesn't have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was gonna be a door. I thought they
Well,
had talked about the door on the
Go ahead,
back.
ask the question.
Originally, I thought there was gonna be, the entry door access was gonna be at the back of the building, on the north side, and this shows it on the, east side.
If you take a look at...
Yeah, my understanding is that it would be from Prouty Plaza into the nightclub.
The entrance to the nightclub or the entrance to the restrooms, public restrooms?
No, nightclub.
Yeah, and that's like that's where people would enter, but trucks and deliveries wouldn't come through that door?
Oh, no.
Okay,
No,
where
no.
would that be, at the back of the building then?
I believe that that would be at the very back of the building.
Okay,
See, that alley's way up here.
right, right, and that's what I'm like, I would not want,
Yeah, the main
That's being
entrance to the
delivered.
building would be at the front where it currently is.
so this is for what? Just another
It's
entrance?
just another entry from Proudy Plaza.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Volker, thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Mr. Tillington, anything else on this?
No, just that we'll talk to Grant and we'll get something scheduled as much in advance as we can. Maybe shoot for a couple of weeks.
It might be, if you don't mind, Mr. Volker, if you want to go ahead and just send me copies of any drafts that you and Grant might be working on.
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. This email came from Grant, so I don't have your email address.
cappersallen@gmail.com.
So all concerts would just be bumped out farther, is that?
One out.
By 10 feet.
Okay.
A-L-E-A-M, right,
Okay, at Gmail.
gmail.com.
That way, if I see
And that-
something, you guys don't have to go back to the drawing board again.
Okay, perfect. We will include you on the next draft.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tillington, do you have anything else to come before the commission today?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is the receive a check from William H. Mayer Successor Trust in the amount of $1,369.18. We note that, and it goes into the general fund, I believe it is. Thank you. Mrs. Knight, do you have anything to come before the commission today?
No, sir, I do not.
Mr. Tillington, anything else? Susan, do you have anything you want to talk about?
No.
Anybody have anything you want to talk about? I'll accept a motion to adjourn the meeting then.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.